Revolution. This word has entered our daily lives, and most people are deeply convinced it stands for something positive, something we should all aspire to. But is that really true? Let's find out together. There is an idea I care about deeply, and you may have heard me say this before. The idea that every word is, in a sense, a fossil. Every word tells us about distant eras, long gone, and the life those fossils once carried has been lost, replaced by something new. In the case of the word revolution, this kind of etymological excavation is especially important, because this word tells us our own story. It tells us who we are, and it reveals something essential about the West. Today, when a young person talks about revolution, they almost certainly mean something positive. The overthrow of a corrupt system, good fighting against evil. You even hear people say that Jesus Christ was the first revolutionary. By the end of this video, I hope you'll understand why that statement is not only absurd, it borders on blasphemy. Let's dig into the word itself. The Italian rivoluzione, the French revolution, the English revolution, they all share a clear Latin root, the verb revolvere. Revolvo, revolutus sum, revolution. The noun comes from the action of revolving, and in Latin, this is crystal clear. Revolvere means to turn, to describe the motion of a celestial body orbiting another celestial body. So what does revolution actually do? It goes in a circle. It moves, but it always returns to where it started. Change plus return to the beginning. That is the original meaning. And this meaning was well established until surprisingly recent times. When Copernicus wrote about the revolutions of the celestial spheres, he meant exactly this, a motion that departs from a point and returns to it. He was not imagining a political upheaval among the planets. It's almost ironic that we speak of the scientific revolution while citing authors who understood that word in a completely different way. If you had told Galileo, "You are making a scientific revolution," he would have asked, "Around what am I revolving? Where do I return?" He simply wouldn't have understood. Then something shifts, and the West, as it tends to do, begins to evolve in its own peculiar direction. The turning point comes around what is called the Glorious Revolution, that symbolic date of 1688, celebrated by the English as a founding moment of their political identity. Here, the word acquires political meaning for the first time. But notice something fascinating. In the context of the Glorious Revolution, the term still carried its original sense. What did these men want? To return to the ancient constitution. The king had been moving toward absolute power, and they wanted to go back to the charters and constitutional documents that had always limited royal authority. This was, in effect, a conservative movement, even a reactionary one, reacting against change, not causing it. So in its very first political usage, revolution meant the exact opposite of what we mean today. It meant restoration, a return to what had existed before. That alone should give us pause. But what comes next reveals even more. The Enlightenment philosophers and the entire ideological apparatus of the French Revolution took this word and bent it into a new shape. They borrowed from what had happened in England, where the people had risen against the king and cut off his head, and they weaponized the language. From the French Revolution onward, revolution began to mean something entirely different. Or so we think. In truth, the meaning never changed, because as some quickly discovered, every revolution simply changes the name of the tyrant. You cut off one head, another takes its place. In France, revolution became synonymous with what we would call radical change. But it never was. It is a false radical change, one that always circles back to the beginning. There is an old saying, the devil makes the pots, but not the lids. And given the deeply Luciferian symbolism that runs through the French Revolution, explicit in its iconography, its replacement of Christianity, its entire spiritual architecture, I think this proverb is more apt than ever. The devil built the mechanism of revolution, but forgot the lid. And that left us free to see what the trick really was. Every revolution has done nothing but remove one power structure and install another. That is the loop we set in motion. And yet, with the background assumption that every revolution is change, and positive change, we have entered an ever-accelerating spiral of revolutions, an age of perpetual revolution, where it has become virtuous to fight against the system. Any system, always. In other videos, I have shown how all of this was driven, fueled, and spread by literature and art. Literature, in particular, invented the revolutionary hero, something that could not have existed in any previous Western society, in any civilization before this one. Today, we call a man a hero because he fights against the system, whatever it may be, while the man who sacrifices himself for the system and its values, the classical hero, is no longer considered heroic at all. Then came Milton. Then came Paradise Lost, and with it the famous motto, "Better to reign in hell than serve in heaven." With that line, Lucifer became likable. Lucifer became the new hero, and his archetype of rebellion, because that is the truer word for what is really happening, became the template for an entirely new form of heroism. Then art deepened the wound. The fusion of occultism, Luciferian sensibility, and artistic circles in England, in France, in Germany, throughout the 1700s, gave birth to the French Revolution, where the archetype became flesh. The idea that the good of society is to fight against society itself was incarnated in historical reality. And from that moment, the French Revolution spread like a cancer, sending metastases everywhere. And did it deliver rights? Whose rights, exactly? The rights of the citizens who were drowned in their own blood? The genocide of the Vendée? The reign of terror? Those are its fruits, and you shall know them by their fruits. The fruit of the French Revolution was the genocide of everyone who opposed its principles. This revolution spread. The revolutionary archetype sank deeper and deeper into us, buried so far down we no longer see it. Byron played an enormous role in this. What literary scholars call the Byronic hero, dark, rebellious, magnificent in his defiance, is nothing but Milton's Lucifer repackaged for the modern imagination. And rebellion became the new virtue. And so today, inevitably, the West can no longer sustain itself, because generation after generation has been raised to believe the West is the enemy, because it is our system, and therefore we must fight it. It is a principle of self-destruction. The very word revolution carries within itself the mechanism of self-annihilation. You destroy one system, you enter the next, and the destruction never stops. Nothing is ever built. In alchemical terms, this would be called perpetual nigredo, a perpetual dissolution, a solve that never finds its coagula, all left hand, no right hand, ever. But within this crisis, the solution is already present. Awareness is the first step, the light that shows us the path forward. And there is another word I want to place at the center. That word is evolution. Don't think of Darwin. Darwin, by the way, wasn't particularly fond of the word. It was pinned onto him later. Evolution comes from the Latin evolvere, to unroll, to unfold. In Latin, evolvere is the verb used for unrolling a scroll, a volumen. You take that rolled parchment, you open it out, you evolve it. So evolution is a linear movement. It has a beginning, it has an end. It has clarity of origin and clarity of destination. It knows where it is going. If we truly want to progress, if we want to escape the trap of believing that rebellion is always virtuous, we must internalize the word evolution, and we must begin to ask, what are the ends? Where do we actually want to take civilization? Not what do we want to destroy, but what do we want to build? Because if you speak to the political leaders of today, of any stripe, any ideology, they will always tell you what is wrong with the system. Almost none of them will be able to tell you where they want to take it. That is the real problem. We have all mastered the pars destruens, the part that tears down. But the pars construens, the part that builds, we have abandoned it entirely. No one wants the albedo anymore. No one wants the dawn. Everyone wants to demolish. The revolutionary principle perfectly incarnated. And we are deeply sick with it. Turn on Netflix. Open a novel. Look at what passes for a hero today. Every narrative celebrates destruction. We are trapped in this logic. And with this logic, we build nothing, we plan nothing, we dream nothing. We only lament what surrounds us. So, enough revolving, enough revolutions. Let us learn to evolve. Let us become living embodiments of evolution. People who know where they come from, and who know, above all, where they are going. This is what I wanted to share today about words. I love excavating their meanings, because for me, poetry means using tools that must first be cleansed of the rust that has built up over them. Subscribe to the channel, activate notifications, share this content if it speaks to you, and may God bless us all.